Welcome back to our podcast, you guys. I am
Welcome.
Percy,
I am LD.
and you're watching or listening to
To
Two
Go
Go
Mike.
Mics. And as you can see, we have some very, very special guests with us today. My very lovely sister, the Tuesday guy, and my other lovely sister, by law, the Lisa guy. Welcome to the show, you guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
y'all for having us. Yes.
It's so funny y'all asking how we doing, and I woke up with y'all this morning. y'all ain't gotta act like that on the show. You keep it real.
We was just saying like how you doing.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Southern.
Like, in general. Yeah, there you go.
How's life going for you guys? What's going on in the island?
It's been a challenge over the last couple of days. It's because I've been having some technological difficulties with my phone and stuff. On top of trying to balance everything with baby coming in our relationship. So.
I walked in the apartment last night, and all I heard was her going off on some Iranian man across the world. Iranian, Indian, I don't know, but she was going off on the bed. So
Yeah, it's
Who
been
is
having
the-
me stressed out.
Who is the
but-
carrier?
you already know. The good old AT&T.
Hold on.
You didn't want to blast them?
Oh,
We blast folks.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Of course, it was AT&T.
allegedly.
Allegedly.
You gotta throw that in there, right?
Right, we ain't trying to be Tasha Cage. Allegedly.
I'm sorry, y'all. The hot. Friend, what's been going on with you?
You know, friend, I'm tired, as always.
Yeah.
But I actually feel like pretty good today. My sister is in town as well. She's over there.
Yeah.
Wave at me, Kenny. Y'all can't see it.
You gonna wave like this.
Like, over
And my
there.
nephew's in town too. He's here. He's in the background shaking his head. I'm not gonna put you on blast, but just want to acknowledge you in the room too.
Absolutely. It's a family affair today.
Yeah, it's a family
And
affair.
I'm excited. As you know, when we started the podcast, we told you all of our friends and family would be here. We meant it.
Yes.
We meant it. These are our guests. So, friends, tell them what we're going to talk about.
Today we're going to be talking about, as you can see, we are expecting a child. I have a niece on the way. So we're going to be talking about their IVF process and their journey into their new pregnancy for their firstborn child, right? You guys excited?
Super.
Nervous too?
Good. And it's Pride Month. Let's not forget.
It is
Yes.
definitely Pride Month.
It is Pride Month, and our fault, we've been on hiatus.
Yeah.
We got to take a minute break. We gave y'all 10 great episodes.
We
We're going to give you 10 great more.
are.
And what better way to pick back up than during a month of celebration for us?
Oh, so y'all took like a sub-season break.
We had
Yeah,
to.
we did.
Had to.
So you guys are actually like the first guest for us starting back.
Exactly.
Oh, we're on there.
Exactly.
Better
We
be-
had to start off with a bang. Let me tell you, these jobs be jiving, life
They
be
do.
lifing. Really get tired. We've been doing a lot of traveling.
Yeah.
We said we were going to do all these vlogs. We have put nothing together.
We got some footage, but y'all will never see it. I don't know.
But listen, anybody want to intern for the free?
Please.
Hit up the DM. We're more than welcome to send it over to you and let you cut it.
Hey, they
Post
got a
it.
lot to learn from you guys. I'm impressed by the setup and
Yes.
everything. Is very official in here. So
Super. Because we were nervous. Well, I was nervous. I'm still kind
no,
of
I was
nervous right
nervous too. Because y'all look so official with the setup and everything. I'm like, am I doing an
now.
interview for
Am I talking
CNN or
about
something?
stuff?
Let
me tell you.
I know we're trying to get there.
And it's
Put us up there.
light.
Put us up there.
Put us up there.
Right.
Keep amping me up.
Right.
I love it.
Well deserved.
You talking about season 1? Come after season 2. It's gonna be crazy.
Lights, camera, action.
Literally, like that's what I'm putting
Flat
out.
on the set type
That's
thing.
what I'm praying for. That's what I'm manifesting.
It'll come.
All those good things.
Charlamagne, get at us. We got some good quality here. Okay?
Hello, come on. But let's go ahead and jump into the IVF conversation. Like before we start with questions, I just wanted to say for those who all don't know what IVF is, this conversation is going to be their journey. It's not specific to anybody. Your journey is your own journey. The IVF is in vitro fertilization, so that's what it stands for. It's a complex and assisted reproductive technology that helps individuals who cannot get pregnant. Any couples overcoming fertility issues, And just really anybody who wants to achieve pregnancy, IVF is a way to do that. So let's do a disclaimer because there's some people out in the world. Disclaimer: it's important to know that IVF is a complex medical procedure and individual experiences may vary. It is best to consult with a reproductive specialist or a fertility clinic if this is a journey that you want to start yourself. So always consult medical advice if you need that. All right.
Yeah. Come on,
So-
disclaimer.
Well, I want to create a safe space.
Yeah.
Just tell people, things that you hear, everything may not apply to you.
That's a life lesson too.
It don't
is.
apply.
You
Let it
don't
apply.
apply. Your journey is your own journey.
Your journey is your own journey, and I heard it's a hard journey for some people. So I'm very excited to hear about your journey.
Well, let's get into
Get into
it,
it.
shall we? Let's talk about it. Okay, so let's start with why take the IVF journey in the first place? Like, was adoption ever on the table for you guys, or was it always let me think about IVF?
Really?
Sure. So I think for me personally, adoption is still on the table, but I think for me personally, I did want that experience of carrying a child. Having those that came before me, like my sister, my mom, my aunts, my grandmother, and see how they did it so flawlessly, even though times during that particular moment in their life were probably tough and hard, but just seeing how they did it flawlessly with kids, I know that, I have some big shoes to fill, and I'm confident enough that seeing that I'll be, great mom. So I still wanted to have that experience to be able to carry the child. Now, it's not easy now that we're here now, so, but I would definitely say I basked in the of every moment, no matter if it's a good moment where I'm drained every day or energized. Like, I definitely always wanted to experience that, and just being able to get the experience with someone who wanted the same thing that I wanted as well. So thankfully, Tuesday, my beautiful baby here is in my life, and together we're gonna raise this beautiful baby girl.
Sure. For me to answer that question is actually the total opposite. I think I always internally dreamed of a family and children, but just because of the world we live in, and initially when I was younger, it wasn't as big to be out every day. I thought it could never happen because I literally never saw myself being with a guy. I think, and then as I grew into accepting my sexuality over the years, it kind of was just kind of like all the way in the back of your mind type of thought. I actually accredit Jaleesa for actually, once we met, making it a forefront thought. It's like she already had it mapped out how it was going to go, how we were going to get afforded. Had actually stayed with her employer as long as she did, based on the fact that they provided some of the necessary benefits to proceed with the IVF process. So she had it already mapped out, so it was very easy for me to slide like this thing that I've been putting in the back of my head for so long can actually be possible and become. And I really greatly appreciate her for that, for just and she does it with so many things, in our relationship, and in both of our lives separately and jointly, just makes things more realistic for me to do. And I love her. That's one of the greatest attributes I love about her in our relationship. So for me, it was actually the total opposite. I didn't know that it was as big of a thing to me until we met and we had that conversation. But we had that conversation very early on in our relationship. So.
And I always saw you with kids too, because you got this just a maternal nature about you. Like, you just very motherly. You always had somebody's kids, child.
Yeah.
She's very good with kids, with our nieces, nephews, all this stuff. Like, she's always been on it. So
I appreciate that. I really do.
Well, I have a follow up. A great segue. You talked about how Jaleesa had this all planned out, especially when it came to how you were going to pay for the process. I know your employer offered some benefits, and that was one of my biggest questions was, does your healthcare cover the entire process?
So, through Comcast, that's who I work for, my employer.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah.
Okay. I will say one of the amazing things that I love about working for my employer is that they are LGBTQ plus friendly. Definitely big on love wins across the board, and the benefits that they put forth for their employees, amazing, like hands down amazing. The best benefits I've ever had since I've been working. So to answer your question, LD, they pay for a majority of it. I think, and keep me honest here, the process, the IVF process, or even IUI can cost as much as $20,000. I would say, and this is me just taking a wild guess, child, how much we've actually paid because of the benefits that I'm afforded through my employer, probably 10K, maybe 11, and that's give or take 1,000 or two. But we definitely did not reach that 20K mark at all. And there are things that do happen that you have to contribute to throughout the process, especially you have to do it multiple times, like we did. But even with those multiple times, we still did not reach that 20K mark. So I think that's a benefit.
Actually, I want to give Comcast, and if Comcast, if this go viral, y'all owe my baby a bonus. But, but I want to give them more credit than that. I actually think, I want to say around 5K actually. So actually about 3/4 of it they actually covered, which is amazing. So we only covered around about 5K out of this entire situation, maybe slightly over. They have been very helpful in the process. Our HR department, benefits department, I believe, they kind of held her hand through the process. So it's been kind of seamless in that area.
Answering all my wild
That's
questions.
amazing.
And like one other thing that they also partner with different companies as well. So one of the companies they partner with is called Optum. So Optum Fertility is one of those programs that Comcast partners with, and it helps pay for like medications. It helps pay for procedures like embryo transfer, egg storage, like for them to store and freeze my eggs. Like I said, different other procedures and stuff like egg retrieval, egg transfers as well. And so with that program, if I wasn't enrolled in that program, and even with the benefits, I still probably would have came close to the 20K. But with that program in mind, it definitely gets closer to that amount. What Tuesday just said, which is like the 5K, 6K range. So that's a plus.
That's amazing. I want to say I work in HR. I worked in benefits specifically before, and that's an amazing thing that your company is doing. And I encourage anyone who is looking to go through a similar process to start in your benefits department, even if you don't see it listed, and if it's not a benefit that they offer, never be afraid to ask them if it's something that they can consider, because benefits packages for companies are negotiated every year or so. So it may be something that they can add in the future. So especially if a lot of people are looking for that. So never be afraid to go and start there and ask.
Yeah, I even add too something I just found out that I didn't take advantage of. So if I can pay it forward, look into what your actual benefits team will pay for. Sometimes there are certain incentives that the company will provide, such as labor and delivery fees being waived. I don't know roughly how much they cost, because I found out once we delivered Parker. But one of the incentives is that, hey, if you reach out to this care team, the care team is there in place for you to ask them any questions. And if you contact them within your first trimester, they'll give you like this credit on your bill where you don't have to pay for labor and delivery when you get ready, to deliver your child. So that's something I didn't know as well. But that's something, hey, if you're out there, you work for Comcast, check it out.
Comcast, you're getting a whole lot of shout outs. Y'all got to come with it.
Well, they helped in the process of making something, like I said, that was unimaginable, imaginable. And that's huge, and it's very rare in a company. So we definitely want to shout out any company that is like-minded as far as Comcast. So
That's beautiful. So walk us through the process, like from start to finish. Like
y'all ready?
from picking an actual doctor to actually just going through the whole thing.
But it all starts with Comcast.
Yeah.
It all starts with Comcast. So going back to the Optum Fertility that I was telling you about, there's a thing called Center of Excellence. So COE is what it's called. So we had to find a Center of Excellence business or whatever that will be able to take our services. Well, my insurance.
Center of Excellence kind of means?
So they hold on, wait. Did I forget something?
No. I just kind of want to emphasize. So the reason they categorize these fertility clinics as centers of excellence is because they basically take the stats from the doctors at these fertility clinics, and they want the best of the best. They want the people who produce top. They're more than likely to get a birth out of each patient they work with, and that way, insurance company as well as her employer, they don't waste money with that particular doctor. So, and then they also kind of want like medical procedures and medicines that they approve of as more safe to be used. So that's why. That's kind of how they determine what a center of excellence is.
Is that doctor different than your primary care?
Yes, he is. So legit, the two basically works for Comcast. Allegedly. But no. So this center of excellence. So based off of that description, we found this fertility. The nearest one near us here in Jackson, Mississippi, and I think it's really the only one in the state of Mississippi actually, is Mississippi Reproductive Medicine, which is located in Flowwood, Mississippi. Shout them out because they were amazing as well. Super amazing, super supportive. So we found them. They're actually, honestly, to your point, the benefits changing every year, they ended up not being in our center of excellence, but because they were the closest and familiar with the process, that's how we ended up with it. But anyway, we started with Comcast. We found MRM, Mississippi Reproductive Medicine, and the doctor, Dr. Hines, and his team, they set us down for a consultation. So you start with the consultation first. You pay your consultation fee. They go through like all of the basics, like reading the definition of what an IVF is, what IUI is, giving you your options, these numbers about how much everything is going to cost. Of course, our minds are like, what the heck is going on here? But anyway, so he tells you all the ins and outs. He walks you through how the embryo grows and all of this stuff, all of the processes that it goes through. And then they schedule you for blood work. Yeah, the blood work. Then what else do we have to do? Blood work.
So after blood work, and the reason for the blood work is just to kind of make sure that she's a good candidate to actually carry, as well as first off to actually retrieve the eggs from, and second off to actually carry. So then after the blood work, then it's kind of like, okay, they can come back and they actually get a look at her uterus, like an in-depth look at her uterus, and he kind of scopes around, make sure there's nothing abnormal there, and then we kind of start the pre-process to IVF, if that makes sense. Where she basically started on birth control, which sounds really weird.
But believe it or not, birth control is really supposed to be good for the hormones and stuff to help kind of balance them,
to regulate them.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. So she starts birth control. Do you remember how long you did birth control?
Oh, child, I did birth control for
was it like a month?
All the way up until I think it was up until the retrieval. Actually, yeah, it was. Remember? Yeah, up until the retrieval, about 3 days before the actual egg retrieval. I was taking birth control. So they put you on birth control, a low dose of aspirin. So I took Bayer, 81 milligrams, and what else? Birth control, and it was something else. Oh no, that was it. And then the medications that they prescribed.
Yeah. So they prescribe a medicine that's basically the purpose of it is to help her produce great eggs.
And so, just a disclaimer. So I'm 34 now. When I started this process, I was turning 33 actually. So I was 32 in some days, and then I turned 33. I think that's when we were in like the meat of our first round of IVF.
Right. And this medication is shots, by the way. So every day I'm literally putting these shots into her stomach. I actually think I want to correct something you said. I think you stopped the birth control before we started the shots.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she stopped the birth control a little bit before we started.
Wow.
Yeah. It's okay, and she has pregnancy brain, so forgive her, because she's now like almost 6 months pregnant. But So she stopped the birth control, and then we got on to the shots.
Yeah.
And there was like two separate shots.
An AM and a PM shot.
Yeah, so like you take like a set of shots in the morning, and then you take a set of shots at night, and then she has an actual. Was it just an aspirin, or was it also a pill that you had to take? I want to say.
So you're talking about
Maybe not.
insurance. So that was like later on in the
So,
process.
so she took her aspirin every day as well as prenatal vitamins.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay, there we go. We on track now, guys.
So how long were you taking the shots and doing the pills?
So you remember.
That's a trick question because the shots don't stop after the process.
Right,
No.
they don't. They continue on. They get worse. But to me, in my opinion, because I don't like needles. I'm just gonna put that out there. I don't like needles at all. So yeah,
Definitely not needles in your stomach either.
right. But and honestly, if I had to compare those to the progesterone shots that I had to take in my buttocks, I probably would take the ones in my stomach over
Really?
there. Yes.
That sounds crazy.
Oh my gosh!
But I've seen it on Dear Mary Jane. I was rewatching. I was rewatching and she was doing it on that show.
Yeah,
So,
I
My friend, I started.
you started Dear Mary Jane?
I did.
And it's your first time watching?
Uh-huh.
Oh, it's good.
I got some seasons, but yeah, it's good. Shout
Gabby was everything.
out to my girl Gabby. Yeah.
Shout out.
Yeah.
But then once the shots go on for about it's probably about like 2 weeks of straight shots, and then you go in and you, like in that time you kind of like see him. He's like looking at her uterus, counting how the eggs are going.
Every time you're going in, you get blood work so they can
And
check
he's
your
like,
weight,
okay.
progressing.
Right. He's like, okay, I think we're almost ready. And he sets a date.
Yep.
And then he gives you what is a trigger shot, which is basically for kind of like triggers the eggs to.
Yeah.
And you have to
That
give
one
it to
hurts.
yourself, but he gives it to you so you can take it home and give it to yourself. And that one actually goes in the thigh. And it basically kind of like stops the egg growth and stops the other shot that you had been
Yep.
taking that time to make the eggs grow and multiply. It stops that process and basically settles it out so he can go in and retrieve the eggs.
Yeah.
And
we also have, remember before we go in as well, we have to take like a pregnancy test. It's a HCG test, and so basically that's I can't remember. I think it's like a hormonal something.
Yeah, so it's a hormone that actually,
test.
it's a hormone test that actually evaluates whether you're pregnant.
Yeah,
So
and
the higher it is,
Mhm.
the higher chances are that you're pregnant. So what they do is they take this natural hormone and they insert it into your body to trick your body into thinking you're pregnant because it's good for the process of the retrieval of the egg.
Okay.
So yeah, so
And then I had to report whether I saw it as positive or negative.
right.
And if it was negative, then basically we had to start over. But this particular time, that first time, it did come back positive, but the line was fairly faint, but you could see that it was positive. And I'm saying fairly faint because this was the first time around, and you'll understand why in a minute.
Okay.
So we took the test, and then I went in. They put me, I say put me under, but it really wasn't put me under. They just gave me some medicine to put me to sleep for a little second. And then they did the.
You have to go under anesthesia, though,
Yeah.
right?
For the retrieval,
Yeah.
Okay.
And
You
they retrieve the eggs.
basically like takes a needle and he sticks it in her uterus
Yeah.
and then kind of like sucks out the eggs.
Yeah.
Ooh,
And so
child.
this first time, and I was asleep doing all of this. So once
God.
I wake up, they kind of want me to wake up on my own, but they kind of woke me up a little bit. He did inform me that this first time around we had 20 eggs, which is amazing for someone my age. Mind you, at this time I was 33. I had already turned 33. So I was like 33 or 34. 34, because I'm about to be 35 this year. Okay, so I was 34. And so 20 eggs is a lot because as a woman, as we get older, even now with Parker, she started out with like 2 million eggs, and as she continues to grow, even before she's born, those 2 million eggs,
Infants start out
they
like
decrease
Yeah, so
eventually.
so essentially the female, she starts off with eggs while she's still in the womb.
Right.
About 2 million.
Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, so those eggs, that was amazing. So so they retrieve the eggs.
Right? And then so there's a process basically where the doctor is waiting. Well, the doctor gives it to what they call an embryologist. The embryologist is basically a doctor who basically looks at these eggs and these specimen dishes and watches them grow. So she first off she inserts the sperm. So she took the sperm from the front sperm donor that we actually chose, and she inserted it, and then she watches them grow over about 6 to 7 days. Right. Mm-hmm. Every day or two, you get a report about how well they're doing. First day, she basically, what they call kind of day zero. She basically just say, hey, we got this many eggs, and I'm going to basically, inject the sperm and put them in the incubator. Very much so, a lot of science terms that I had.
I don't seem like y'all done picked up a whole lot of I can open y'all own. That's what I'm thinking about.
But so then probably about 2 days later, she gives you an update of which ones are growing. It's not unusual for some to fall off or a good bit to fall off the first 2 days. I think our first 2 days, about half of them fell off, and they didn't have growth, so we were left with 10. And then after that, around day 5, she gives another update, and this is the moment that was really tested our relationship in the process, is because I believe on day 5 we went all the way down to like 3 or 4. Devastating. We instantly get worried, and of course they say, "Don't worry, we've seen this happen. If we get 1 or 2, we're fine because we still can move forward with actually the next process, which is basically transferring the egg to her uterus." But day 6, which is kind of like, so sometimes you get a day 7, sometimes you don't. It just depends on how well they're going. Day 6, I think we also lost like 2.
So you're down to 1.
We were down to 1. So our anxiety's high. I think
it wasn't a guarantee, like you're playing spades. It was like a possible.
I think I started texting you, panicking, and telling you what was going on. And then, like, finally on day 7, they was just like, "Hey, the last one didn't make it, so we had no eggs." It was extremely devastating. I think I don't know if it's as bad as having miscarriage, but to me, it felt the same. I think I cried in the shower for a long time. I text mom, and I was just like, I can't believe this. I was super sad about it. It actually even makes me sad now. But it was very kind of, it was deflating, and it also kind of, I think, triggered a bit of a depression in both of us, just for a little bit, because I think, we realized, after talking to the doctor, that it's time to get back on the horse, and it was just a part of the process.
Was it ever a point in time when that happened where you guys just like, okay, this is too painful, I don't want to think about continuing, or you just
That's the thing about us, and I can say this, and I can definitely speak for both of us, we're resilient. This didn't keep us down. It was like a moment in time. I think we were probably down for a day, maybe and a half. For me personally, it was, y'all, and that's made me cry, child. It was a mental. It was testing the mental for me. I really felt like that. One of the things I feel like that makes a woman is being able to produce. And I understand that there are some women who have those infertility issues and they're not able to, right? So I just felt in that moment less of a woman. Child. I felt like, Lord, what did I do wrong? So wrong where I can't, even have a child. I understood that I made the relationship that I have, many don't, are not for it, and I'm fine with that. But what else did I do wrong in this life? Right? So I was internally just blaming myself or having these crazy thoughts. Depression, of course, set in, and I'm just like, Lord, please just step in, And even through that, I still never lost my faith. No matter who I decide to love and everything, none of that ever changes. So I just, I'm glad that I had the partner that I still have, right. And we just pushed through. It was tough. I know I cried. I'm a big crybaby, so I cried my eyes out. And Tuesday was very supportive. You know, we supported each other, and we just pushed through. And then it's like a day later, the doctor was like, "Well, y'all can come in. You know, y'all can decide on what y'all want to do." We was just like, we looked at each other like, "We ready to do it again."
Right. Suit up and boot up.
So do you have to pay for like another round?
Yeah, you have to make start over. The only thing we didn't have to redo again was like the consultation part. I mean, we had to do the consultation again, but we didn't have to do the payment again.
MRM actually waived it for us just as a kind gesture.
Yes.
And
I can't say that if everybody
Yeah,
did it.
right.
MRM, that's why I said they are the truth. I love MRM.
And quick side note, Dr. Hines at MRM actually is also responsible for another birth in our family using IVF. So he is very dear to our heart. So
yes.
Okay. So y'all have explain to us the process. At this point in time, y'all are starting the second round.
So after the first round, we jump right back into it, right? So we're starting the second round. So I'm going through all of I had to get back on my birth control again. I had to get back on my low dosage aspirin. I had to reorder my medications. And I think this second time, before the medications even got there, we were taking some tests, and he was just like, "Your body is not producing the estrogen levels that we need."
yes.
So
he stopped.
Yeah, he stopped immediately.
Like a month break.
And I will say this, shout out to MRM again, Dr. Hines, because I appreciate that because he wasn't money hungry in this aspect. Like he wasn't, I felt like, he could have said, we're gonna keep going, maybe some things will change.
Knowing the results.
Knowing the results were not producing as they should have in that moment. So he just stopped everything cold turkey and was just like, well, let's pick back up a couple months later, but to continue taking your prenatal and your low dosage aspirin to kind of build things back up because my body wasn't bouncing back as it should have, right? Which I think is fair considering now, where we are. So.
And I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you had a provider who, like you said, was not driven by the need of your finances to say, you know what, let's stop and take care of you for a moment. So if you ever find yourself in a situation and your doctor is not like that, just remember that you have to advocate for yourself. You have to. I was really glad you said that. I'm extremely glad that you have a doctor who is concerned for your overall well-being as a Black woman.
Yes.
Because even now we're still seeing like this high death rate for our Black women throughout their pregnancy. So I'm glad you had somebody in your corner, and it was a doctor.
That's a great point.
Yes, very good point. Yeah.
So, wanted to continue with the process?
So we stopped cold turkey. Fast forwarding 2 months later, it had to be somewhere like November-ish, I feel like. We started back I'm about to say my country word wrong. We started back
We started
back with our the same patterns we started with taking the shots in the belly, the AM, PM shots, things like that. Blood work, all of this stuff. Doing the I guess it wasn't really an ultrasound. What did he do?
Yes, it is.
It was an ultrasound, right?
Right. He does an ultrasound of the uterus.
Yeah.
And we got to the point of basically the trigger shot and then the egg retrieval.
Egg retrieval part.
This time,
everything was going as planned. Now, I will say this. Slow and steady wins the race, okay? Because we did not start out with 28.
We did. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay.
We did not start with 28.
Gotcha. Okay. So we did not start with 28. I think we started with roughly around a good maybe 10-7.
Yes.
Something like 17.
Which was kind of unnerving considering the first time we had double.
Yeah.
Okay. So we was just like, okay, but in that instance, they were all successfully doing really, really good. So they sent them off. Well, prior to sending them off to the lab, right? They went through the stages that they told y'all about 7 days, right? And in that 7 days, those 7 to 10 embryos, it went down to what, maybe to like 5? Okay. 5. Yeah, 4. 4. Oh yeah, it was 4. Okay. Now of the 4, 1 just did not make it at all. Then there was this third.
Well, let's skip. I think this is important. I don't mean to interrupt.
Oh, you love
Of the 4, once they make it to the growth that they need to be, they send them off to the lab for genetic testing, which is super important because one thing about the IVF process is an increased chance of having genetic defects, highly increased chance. So we did do genetic testing, and if anybody does IVF, do not skip the genetic testing portion
at all.
because you're taking a risk.
I'm surprised they'll allow you to skip that portion.
So,
It's too important.
So the thing about it is, and I'm gonna let you jump right back in, babe. So I have the sickle cell trait, right? And so the donor, and I know that's probably something y'all want to hear about too, but the donor, we had to make sure that he did not have the trait or the disease, because essentially the baby would have, the trait or the disease or the disease.
Yeah.
So that was something that we specifically looked for in the donor. And so going back to what she said, genetic testing,
Definitely get it.
definitely do it.
Right.
Sure. Okay,
Also, if you do genetic testing, that's the only way that you can determine the sex of the embryos that you have. And another thing I want to say before I continue, the egg itself is what they retrieve. When they put the sperm there and it grows, that's when it's actually what they call an embryo. But when they sent it out for genetic testing, out of the 4, 1 came back that it was genetically mutated. It was our actual only boy.
Well, it was 3. It was 3, remember? Because we ended up with 2 girls and a boy.
Huh?
It was 3.
Oh, so it was 3 eggs. Okay, so it was 3 eggs that we sent off. And of the 3, the genetically mutated one was the only boy.
He missed it by 1 chromosome, y'all. 1 chromosome.
So, yeah, instantly knew we were having a girl moving forward.
Yeah. So we right now have like another egg frozen, and it's a girl.
Yes.
Okay. And one of the eggs is
Parker.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Parker Lee.
The next step is the transfer. This is long, guys. I know
It is.
you're not-
I know,
Wait,
it's
but
so
I know.
expensive.
Before we get to the transfer, let's talk about sperm donors.
Oh, child. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about the shortage of sperm donors in African
Yeah, that's
American
what we want
males.
to talk about. Yeah.
Like my brothers, let me talk to you for a second. Oh my gosh, honestly, real talk, like we need you. Not necessarily just us, but like other women out there that are in this situation, whether they're same sex or they are infertile. We need our African American males to, one, get healthy, keep yourself healthy, but then also make that contribution to these banks as well to help, continue to strengthen, not strengthen, but to grow our community.
Yes.
Because we need you. We didn't have many options.
We did
The
not.
options that we did have, but I mean, y'all
finna put
y'all listen to
a
the
grant in.
No, we're not
No,
going to
but
I
literally,
definitely understand where sis was coming from.
yes, it was, the pool wasn't pulling.
Right.
Yeah,
So
so
there's
the
only
genetic-
like 4. It's like 4 or 5. I'm not sure the exact number, but it's about 4. It's only like 4 or 5 crypto banks. That's what they call them, which are sperm banks in the U.S. And out of those, it's like each one you're looking at. This was during COVID too, which also sperm. It wasn't as much sperm coming in, so it's probably going to be 10 or less at each bank.
Out of how many?
Out of hundreds, and
Thousands.
sometimes thousands, depending on
Yes.
which bank you're at, of donors. We're talking about
Do we want to shout out the bank?
less than 1% of Black donors. No, I don't want to shout out the bank we use.
I mean, but we used one of these,
One of the 4.
yeah, and the first round, that donor was African American.
The round that did not succeed.
The first round that was not successful. So in that's also, that had me thinking too that, hey, was there something wrong with me? Because he came highly recommended. He had pregnancies that were reported. So, but in actuality, there was something actually wrong with his sperm. Okay. So of course, going back to the drawing board, we went back to the same actual bank. We actually liked them and their setup and how it was set up or whatever. So we ended up choosing another donor.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this one was hard. I kind of want to walk through the detail of the process because
Go ahead.
we actually had like two options that were very iffy as far as African American donors. And it was like, hey, dude, because one of the things about picking a donor is we as both being intellectual beings. I have 3 degrees. Lisa has 2, and with us both being intellectual individuals, everything to us was about the writing portion of the profiles that we were.
And I'm an English major, so grammatically, if you were not there on top and on point,
right.
if I can't read your wording,
right. And you did not, and I had a conversation with a friend. You did not have to have a college degree, but they do tell you, and for all I know, you could be lying about even if you say you have one.
Right.
But the writing and the way you articulate yourself, and also there are some small recordings, and the way you articulate yourself matter to us because, you know, you want to not have to deal with any potential educational disability, right? And you kind of want to look for signs of things that may be concerns. I mean, just like even now, you know, we think we picked a great sperm donor. We still kind of, you know, you would still be worried and try to watch your kid for certain signs and everything because that's part of being a parent. So they were very iffy and we really didn't want to go with them, but it was like we were both very strong about having an African American sperm donor.
Yes.
But after much conversation, we actually decided to go with Caucasian, just because his writing was amazing and it was very similar to Jaleesa's thought process, and it was very creative. He was intellectual but creative at the same time, which is how I see Jaleesa. And I think through the process we compared sperm donors to characteristics in each other.
Yeah.
Which was very important because, you know, kind of want the kid to resemble us in some manners, even though it's not biologically one of ours. Right?
And I'm so glad you kind of broke it down like that. And when Brad and Judy had their story, I felt like how you feel. I wish she was able to explain it much. She probably did on a different platform, but it's so much more than just skin tone. When you're thinking about children, they're gonna pick up on personality, their level of intelligence that you're looking for, their level of empathy, just general overall attitude, so many different factors. So I'm so glad that you, well, you know what? I like the way this guy writes. He thinks how I think. We're gonna we have a better sense of who our child is versus
appearance.
Joe Blow
Yes.
from around the corner, and there's already like limited options. Well, I feel like we kind of like had like a conversation before on the show when the situation happened.
Yeah,
talking about like culturally, from an African American perspective, why we don't have a lot of black men sperm donors.
Let's get into it some
Yes,
more.
we had a conversation about this.
Well, I have thoughts. For one, when you look at like the history of like how sperm donors used to be selected, they would just go to college campuses and get white males, blonde, you know, colorful eyes, like that. That is what women were looking for. Ooh, you know, the 80s was like that's what women were looking for 40 to 50 years ago. Really, probably like late as 90s. Like that's what the look was before inclusion became a thing, before diversity was a thing. And then also the IVF process, it being available to women of color. It's if you look at it from a supply and demand. Like a lot of our sisters were not like doing IVF process, so they were catering to who could do that at the time, which were white women. And then I also feel like from a cultural perspective as a black man, to even consider being a sperm donor, the first thing that like comes to my mind is, don't you just be, putting no babies out into the world that you can't take. That whole kind of, I don't know, we have that.
But and that's what's so crazy to me. And I don't. Okay, this is controversial. But I'm gonna say it anyway
too
because
controversial
y'all know
for us,
y'all know how it is. But it's so crazy to me because you got a lot of black men in the community out here shooting the club up, and they not even take care of their own kids.
But are those people that you would pick though?
Hell to the no.
I'm saying like worthy. Like
they can at least get in the pool though.
Like
somebody might think they're
highly intelligent.
I think I agree with him. They can at least get in the pool to be picked because some people don't choose the way we choose. Some people choose solely off looks.
It's true. And that girl at the club chose them, so
Right.
somebody choose.
Right. Because there is a such thing as nature versus nurture, and you know what I'm saying. I don't believe that genetically just because your biological parent is one way that necessarily you're going to be that way, especially if you were raised in a different atmosphere.
Yeah.
So I think the option should still exist, regardless if they're a type of person that we as intellectuals would do, or and even a person with intellect, they might just say, hey, they might go based on looks as well. But I think the issue with African Americans not donating sperm, African American males not donating sperm, it stems back to just like how we were raised. We talk about church environment,
Yes.
and being traditional, and it's so crazy because in today's society we are so far gone from traditions and practice, but we hold on to them in theory. Because, like you said, you got
You
so
better
many
speak over here.
so many guys with multiple baby mamas or kids that they just pay child support on, and they don't, actually spend time with them. But
If they're paying it.
they will look at a video like this or look at the Brad and Judy situation and be quick to say should have been having babies like that anyway, or we're not donating because it's not how we do.
Right.
But they're so far gone from tradition anyway in practice.
I agree.
Facts.
I agree. But we also, I feel like interviews like this with y'all,
Yeah.
Brad and Judy's situation, more kind of like open and honest conversation within the community about the need that, we will step up to make that happen. Especially with our black women saying like, hey, this is what we need from you all. I know it's not Black History Month, but I have to say
It's Juneteenth.
we also have to.
always
So
wrong.
close,
Right.
so close, and we also have to say, a small part of the problem was a lot of experiments were done against the will
That's true.
of Black people
That's
in
true.
the name of medicine and science.
So just kind of stay away from it.
Yeah, so I think it's scary for a lot of people, and they use the religion in theory to kind of hide the fact that they are scared of what is
Yeah, that's a
advanced
great point.
medical.
That's a great point. Yeah, I like that.
But
Brad, I got a
I
question
get all off
for
on-
you. Would you consider being a donor? Now you in the hot seat.
okay, so I have parameters. I'm a parameter kind of person.
Come on, parameter.
So I don't know if I would be able to do it anonymously. I just have if I did, I would be looking for. I will become Halle Berry
See,
in
child,
these
there
movies
you
where
go.
she lose her baby. Like I'm trying to get my baby. I done went to sleep and I done woke up like I got a baby. I'm going to get it. Like that's me. But if somebody that I knew, if they asked me, I would consider it. Like it's not out of the realm of possibility. I would definitely want a role in their life, and it's up to us to decide what that'll be. Like it doesn't have to
Like get pictures every year or something like that. Things like that.
like do I need to be in the picture?
No, I'm saying not you being in the picture.
Oh,
but
the
just
pictures
keeping
being
up
sent
with
to
like
you
the
to-
child, like
yeah.
in
He
pictures.
he's telling you,
school
no, I
pictures,
need
things
to
like
be
that.
in the picture.
Oh, you want to be in the picture?
No, listen,
You wanna
no.
do birthdays.
I don't necessarily have to be in the picture, but like a role in the general well-being of the child. God, that something. So I'm open to the conversation because I feel like a lot of women outside of this situation, like a lot of people may find themselves like, oh, they're like, oh, I didn't have a husband. I'm gonna have a baby. This is my way of doing it. I'm open to it. I actually made a pact with a friend a long time ago. Like, if we were not we didn't have like children or we weren't married and stuff, then we would do the process. I wonder if she remember. I'm not gonna call out who it is. I'm not gonna say who it
Is she
is.
watching this?
but I want to have children as well. So who's to say in the future I won't?
I love your perspective because I think it comes from the heart that
Yes,
you want to actually take care of something you created. But I do want to say this. It's just like I want to, you know what I'm saying? And I respect everybody's opinion about it because it's yours and it's your choice to make. But you said like, hey, I just want to, you know, have a knowledge of general well-being of the child. I think the interesting thing is most candidates, not all of them, but most of the candidates who are giving sperm, they're aware that they're giving it to somebody who's taking, well, to a couple or even one person. Because there are some single moms who decide that, you know, if they get up in age, they might as well go ahead and move forward with IVF. But they're giving it to somebody who's taking extraordinary measures. So that in itself is their like stamp of approval that their general well-being will be taken care of. You got to think about spending $20,000 just to bring a being into the world. And the reason it's easy for me to point that out is because our sperm donor actually wrote a letter in his writing sample, which was very rare. It was very rare, and it was not to us. It was to his unborn child, and that's what made us pick him, regardless of his race. Is because it was a sweet letter he wrote, letting the child know about him, but then also telling the child, giving the child advice about life, general advice. And at the end, he ended it with, "Hey, you know, always respect and love your parents because they worked so hard to get you here." So that to me was his stamp of approval. Like, I know this baby's gonna be taken care of because somebody went through extraordinary measures to make sure it was here.
Yeah, I can agree with that. But he decided to do it anonymously. For me, like it would be someone that I know asking me.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't go through like anonymous process with the man.
Definitely respect both ways.
Yeah. I think I do both ways. I would, because to me, I'm thinking of it like it's still being fruitful and multiplying. If you want to go to the Bible, if you want to hang the head on that, you're still multiplying in the world, and you're just not raising. I mean, you're just not making kids and just turning your back on them. Because, like you said, y'all worked hard to get the child in general, anyway. But to Ladarius' point, so he brought that up. Was it ever a decision or a thought in y'all guys' head to use someone that you actually know, like a relative, a friend, or anything like that?
Initially, initially we want to use a close friend, but actually in the process, what we learned is we could do it that way, but it would take it would take a year or more because there are a lot of regs and red tape around having a sperm donor, like specifically picking out a sperm donor for your private use, and there are a lot of tests that come along in the process of processing sperm, because it actually goes through like a testing process and then a purity process and all that. And then there are only specific banks that do it. So it would be a lot of traveling, a lot of waiting, and because of Jaleesa's age, it was a situation where we kind of wanted to get on the ball. So we just decided we were going to get an anonymous sperm donor.
And
that makes sense.
The good thing about the bank we chose, and I think it's with other banks as well, you do get to see a picture of the donor, so we know what he looks like. You get to see him at different ages in his life, when he was a child, in his youth, his teenage years, if they post those, and even in his adult life. So,
Do you see that teeth in the picture too?
yes.
Okay, cool.
I think they're smiling, but this particular guy was smiling.
I don't think there was nobody who like, because you get so many pictures, they get multiple pictures. So like, even if they weren't smiling on one picture, is another picture where they are
smiling. Yeah.
It's you get a thorough genetic background. You get you actually get like their family history as far as medical and even height of their parents, grandparents, siblings. Yes,
occupations. Everybody.
Yep, occupations for those people. Even just history of certain diseases that sperm donor may not actually have or have a trait for, but just to know that somebody else in the family somewhere has. So it's a very thorough process.
Gotcha. So let's talk about the support during the process, right? Like how was the support for you guys from as far as like from family members and things like that? Like, you
Well,
feel
you
like
tell
that?
us, you were there. No,
Yeah.
the support was amazing. Absolutely amazing from both sides of our family. Everyone was there. I don't think we really went into detail with you all about the first experience for real. Besides her saying, that she was sad and depressed and things like that, but the support was amazing. It was unmatched. It was nothing short of what we would have expected anyway. So friends were very supportive as well, whether they knew the ins and the outs of what was going on, and even up until now, everybody's super supportive. They love the both of us, so it's not just one sided.
We do.
We do.
So yeah, what would you say, babe?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think throughout my entire journey of finding myself as far as sexuality, my family has been amazingly supportive, of course. And I think this was nothing different. I think my mom in person were definitely my biggest backbones to the entire process. I'm more closed off here, at least as far as feelings. But it's always nice to have somebody to talk to besides her. Just because I think this is a woman who's on all these hormone drugs.
Yeah.
I don't want to stress her out with my feelings as well as overwhelm her because just as much as I think is on me, it's like 10 times more on her, if not more. So my family definitely played a huge role in just keeping me stable.
I appreciate you, babe, because the early part was tough. I know it. Sometimes I just get on my own nerves. Shy. But no, like definitely the medication really does play like on your hormones for sure. But yeah, I'm definitely appreciative for my baby, like for really just toughing it out and just being there days when I just wanted to cry and be coddled, like she was there, like unwavering support from. So support wise, she was also very supportive. Through it all, every doctor's appointment, everything.
Yeah, same here. I think anybody who's going to be the partner of anybody going through the IVF process, it's important to kind of know that they come first. But also, I will applaud Jaleesa for pausing every now and then, going through everything she was going through hormonally as well as mentally. She did pause every now and then and say, "So how you doing? Like, how you feel?" And that does make a huge difference.
I love the support. I love how you guys have that union together because when one is at 20%, you need somebody to be at 80% to bring it all home. So I love that. And I can definitely see that. Y'all are my favorite couple, by the way. So keep being y'all, child. Y'all gonna bring me a niece.
Listen. So you got the egg. I know we stopped like halfway through the process to talk about the selection of the sperm donor. Great conversation, by the way. What was next? Like, how did we get baby Parker
In your belly.
in your belly?
So a successful cycle, right? So they retrieved the egg, they sent it off, we got the results back, we found out it was gonna be a girl. Then they do what they call an egg transfer, right? They transfer embryo transfer, sorry. And they transfer the embryo back into my body. This particular time I don't have to be asleep, but I do have to be calm, so I have to take some type of medication to calm my nerves.
A Valium. They actually give you a Valium.
Yeah, one pill.
They give you treats.
Yes.
But yeah.
Treats.
And you take it 90 minutes.
Fast forward a little bit about you do start taking
Progesterone shots.
progesterone. Sorry.
You're fine, baby.
What is it for?
It's supposed to. Is it the? Ooh.
It's a pregnancy hormone that you have when you're pregnant. So
Okay.
she has to basically the fact that she's getting ready for pregnancy. She has to have the hormones in her body before she actually gets pregnant, and then we actually continue the shots afterwards. So she's kind of like getting double the hormones as a normal woman.
And it does help also when you get ready to do your beta pregnancy testing, because there are 3 beta testing that you have to do for a pregnancy test to help to say, hey, you're pregnant, basically. So it does help again too. So we did take the progesterone shots, and those shots are done in your buttocks. And so you alternate for maybe how long was that, baby? I feel like 10 weeks. It's a total of 10 weeks, and then within that 10 weeks, you do the egg transfer too.
Right, I think it's like 2 or 3 weeks beforehand.
It's
3 weeks beforehand.
Before the egg transfer, you do your egg transfer, and then after you do your egg transfer, then you come back in like 7 days. Yeah, 7 days, and then you do your first beta pregnancy test. And that first test, they're testing to see if your progesterone, which is the shot you're taking, to see if it's at the level that they want it to be. If it's, I can't remember the exact number that they were looking for.
They tested. I think it was the beta they were testing to see if it's right.
It's the progesterone, because remember she said if it's increasing,
It's the beta.
it's the HCG.
Yeah.
So the HCG, if it's increasing, I can't remember the number that they're looking for.
They just wanted to increase.
Yeah, they wanted it to be super high. And so that first testing, basically, at that first testing, they'll let you know then, like, hey, okay, it's testing is really good, it's high. If it's where they want it to be, then AKA you're actually pregnant at that particular moment, right? So then they want to come back just to make sure. You come back twice after that. So that's a total of 3 times that they test you for this. And if all 3 times are successful and the levels have increased substantially over those times, then you're pregnant. And at that particular time, I think you go back to them, 1 more week?
Well, you're doing, after a couple of those tests, you actually start doing ultrasounds. They're monitoring they're still doing the beta test, but they're also monitoring the baby's heartbeat. And in that case, they want the baby's heartbeat to get over 125 beats per minute, because once it gets over that level, basically her chances of successfully delivering a baby is like 90%.
That was the first time we heard a baby's heartbeat.
What was that feeling like when they have all these benchmarks that you have to meet? What was that feeling like when you made it to that 90%?
It's anxiety in between the benchmarks, especially like the 7 days to the pregnancy test. That's a very anxious 7 days. You're just like, oh my God, I'm pregnant. Then she's like, regardless, because you're taking all these hormones, she's taking all these hormones, she's acting pregnant anyway. But that doesn't mean she's pregnant because, you know what I'm saying, you've injected some of these hormones.
Yeah.
But I think I knew instantly, I'm like, yeah, she's pregnant. There was a while I was like, Sissy's testing me. Sis is testing me. So like, I kind of knew she was pregnant. And then one thing about it is that, they say it's a black myth, but like you literally can see in a black woman's face, like, oh, she pregnant. it was in Jaleesa's face instantly, like that. Like all of this was like, spreaded, nose spreading and everything. I was like, yeah, she's pregnant. So that was huge. And then the ultrasound portion is too, especially when he lets you know, like, hey, I wanted to get to 125, but every time you're like, come on, please get to 125. And then eventually when it gets there, it's rewarding.
It is. It's an amazing moment just to see the little heartbeat just beating on the screen. Like it was so surreal.
So it's like a circle, and then it's like a small dot that's just basically blinking. That's it. And you're like, this gonna grow into a baby?
Right. It's literally. It looked like a semicolon. For real. But yeah, so after the ultrasounds and all of that good stuff, they do this thing at MRM called like a graduation, where you're graduating to parenthood or something like that. So they give you this certificate. It's so cute. They give you like this whole folder, what you should do, things you should send off for the state of Mississippi, things like that. And you graduate basically to your OBGYN. And so that particular day, after we came in for those, I think our final ultrasound test, we graduated, gave us our folder. They send everything, this particular clinic, I don't know if our clinics do this, but this particular clinic did send all of our information over to our OBGYN, and we didn't have to take any paperwork. They sent all our paperwork over, and whatever portal that they utilized, and all we had to do was just call and schedule an appointment. So when we called, they had our paperwork already there. So it was a seamless process, very smooth. I love that part. Scheduled an appointment. We saw Dr. Nam, who's our OBGYN and Women's Health Associates. Shout out to them because they're amazing as well. Yeah, so that first appointment, we did it was what?
We did an ultrasound.
Ultrasound, the first appointment, right? And yeah, and that's
by this time you were like 3 months, 2 and a
so
half, going
I
on 3.
stopped the progesterone at 10 weeks, so 2 weeks after that.
So she's like 3 months pregnant.
Yeah.
So she's like 3 months pregnant. So the baby, like, basically for the most part, it has a head, it has a body. It started on them. So that was like, because the first time we had seen it at the fertility clinic, it was just basically a circle within the circle. So I mean, that was amazing in itself. So.
And now we have baby Parker arriving October 29th, if not sooner.
I have to say, y'all are heroes.
Yes.
I just
Trailblazer.
literally, and not only for people who identify on the spectrum LGBTQIA plus, but for what do you call it, QPOP people, people who are on the spectrum and people of color, like at this intersection, because there's not, I don't know, I don't say there's not a lot of us. Just being able to like share your story, inspire someone else to go through the process, continuing to like bring life into this world, which inevitably like creates a better system of understanding that we are still like human beings and people as gay people. It's amazing. But I have a question. It might not be a tough question. I was gonna say it's a tough question, but not a tough question. Knowing all of that you are trailblazing, that you are kind of setting the tone, that we are from Mississippi, that you live in Mississippi, do you have a fear?
I don't.
Yeah, I think I don't think I have the same fear as every other parent has, right? Like, because we all like, every other. Let me emphasize every other Black parent has. But I don't think there are any additional fears. And I think that, and I think I probably can speak for Lisa when I say this. I think that just comes from growing up fears. I think to be gay in the state of Mississippi. Yes, in the Bible Belt in general, and to kind of be like the first of your kind, because I can't remember people being as bold as our particular generation coming up in Mississippi as about their sexuality. So like it has always taken courage. It has always taken just like somewhat of like this I don't care what you think attitude.
A rebel attitude.
Right, but also confident. Like, this is who I am. And one thing I've realized throughout life, when you are confident about something, people are more likely to accept it. Because people basically are kind of like, I don't want to say this might sound weird, but they're kind of like dogs. If they smell fear, they will attack. So, like, if you don't come off confident in what you do, then they will naturally pick on you for it or attack you for it. So, if you're comfortable with something, it's kind of like whatever you say, like it bounces off. So it makes that person who's coming at you look like an idiot.
I think so.
Because we fight.
We just fight. We just fight. So you can try it if you want
that
to.
part as well.
But I do want to ask too, since we're talking about digital Bequah, the LG, the B, the T, and the Q.
Baby, she was clinically amazing.
Yeah.
That's what I want to keep it.
I got seen that little clip.
That you used in that clip.
But okay, obviously you guys, we have Baby Parker here sitting with us as a special guest. So obviously you guys didn't run into this issue, but are you aware of any difficulties with LGBTQ going through the IVF process, just because of state laws or any type of regulations that could possibly hinder them from doing so?
None that I am aware of, but it doesn't still negate the fact that somebody may try to, not give us the full care that we need, But I'm confident enough that we will, like they said, we will get the care that we need. But it doesn't again affect the people may just on their
I think
wishes will.
Right. I think I'm big on vibes. Like, if something don't feel right, I'm out. Like,
No, 'cause you
yeah,
can feel it. You can
right,
feel it,
yeah, like very much so discerning. And it's very much so a God given thing. But if something don't feel right, I'm out. Like I'm like, yeah, that don't feel right. You know what I mean? But I will say at MRM, like they were always like, oh, we're so glad you're here. Like never like judging, like super excited. I think even some of the staff were more excited because we were a same sex couple.
Walked in with confidence, like we do.
Right. So like when you get good vibes and energy out, people go with it. If somebody's not, then go somewhere else and get your treatment. It's kind of like what LD was saying earlier when he was like, hey, if you feel like you're not getting the proper care, advocate for yourself. I'll take that a step further. If you voice an opinion and it's not being heard, move on to the next person. There's too many doctors out here.
Yes.
And we always love to support Black doctors and Black businesses in general. So
Just a personal question, okay? And feel free to answer if you want to. If not, you don't have to. But I'm asking anyway. How did you guys decide who was going to actually carry the baby? And will you be carrying the baby sometime soon? Or what we give it?
So let's take the first part of that question. I think it was kind of a given that Jalisa was going to carry. Anybody that knows it, I'm definitely not a stud. But I'm definitely not a femme. Everybody describes me as Tuesday. Then they're like, oh, you're not a STEM neither. For those who don't know, it's kind of like a mixture between a stud and a femme. But I'm kind of just like this girl who's always had like tomboyish ways. But I'm also very accepting of my feminine side. But it was like a given that Jalisa is more feminine than me. She is more like nurturing than me. Though I'm great with kids, like you were saying earlier, and like I am a caretaker.
They just run to Jalisa.
Yes, Jalisa's just like she sees a baby, she's gushing. She's like very much so like I'm kind of like a mix. I'm like business, but I'm still gonna take care of home. Jalisa's like home first. So I think it was very natural that she stepped into that role. It really kind of wasn't a discussion for us.
But in the event that I could not carry, she was definitely open to, stepping up and doing what she needs to do, even going forward for these additional kids that she wants.
Exactly.
So
How many kids do we want?
It
You said
teeters
10?
and top. She said 2.
No, you didn't say 2.
She says 2. We were at 3. So, I mean, to be continued, whether we get to the 2 or the 3.
Okay.
I think definitely 2 and 3 is
2 and not 10.
Right. 10 would have been crazy.
Listen, interestingly enough, Jalisa originally, she was at like 5.
5, yeah.
But
But
then
it's four of us. My mom had 4 kids, so and my dad had 7 plus diabetes. So yeah.
Yeah, so but got pregnant and things changed.
I'm at 5.
See, yeah.
Yeah, so after she got pregnant and she started going through the whole pregnancy process, which is a whole nother topic. That's another topic, another segment. But after she got pregnant and started going through that, then it was just like, hey, I think first she was like the first few months she was like, I think I want one. I think this is it. And then she was like, no, I'm not gonna be selfish, which I knew she would get to that point, but I knew it was the
some more
hormones.
eggs.
Right. I knew it was the hormones talking. So
Yeah. And then also, I just don't want, my child to not have a sibling growing up. I had a sibling growing up. She had siblings growing up. So I think that those are your first best friends as well. Sometimes you fight your first fight too. So
Yeah.
you learn a lot. But
there's a little fight coming up.
no, it was you.
Lies.
Who still love to fight now?
Not me.
Oh yeah, but no,
Monday.
but no, seriously though, I think I'm definitely, I was definitely in that headspace like, listen, one child, but no, I think definitely we're definitely gonna try for 3. But
You just changed that fast.
So
Three's a good number.
She
I
just
said
changed.
strive is not a guarantee. It's just gonna
I think honestly that's the pregnancy still talking because Jaleesa's one of those type of people. Just because like I was just describing how nurturing she is and how much of a home taker she is. I think after the second baby, and she's one of those people who's gonna miss being pregnant, and it'll change.
Possibly.
Allegedly.
Come on, Liz.
Guarantee, right? But no,
All right, so was there anything that y'all learned in this first journey? Because there's a lot of stages, it's a lot of ups, there's a lot, downs. But is there anything that you learned in the first part of the process that you would do differently moving forward? Like, would you choose a different physician or anything like that?
Position wise, like I said, clinic wise, the people we had working on the medical side of things, A1, hands down, no matter the circumstance. As far as changing anything, I feel like everything happens for a reason, right? I wouldn't necessarily say I would change anything. If anything, I would just be. We did a lot of research, y'all. Like when I say we researched so much even before our first conversation. But I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't change anything at all. Oh yeah, definitely do your research. So if you're gonna go through the process, whether it's IVF or IUI or AI, do your research. AI, artificial insemination. So do your research off top for sure. But I wouldn't change anything. I'm the type of person where I feel like everything happens for a reason, good or bad. You learn from it, and it's a lesson. You just keep moving forward, right? But I would definitely say that patience is key. Having a sound mind, being solid and whole in yourself and your partner. I think this experience has brought Latusa and I closer together. If we are not even closer now than we were before. But yeah, patience for sure. And just being supportive not only for yourself and not thinking about yourself also. Even though I was the one, being shot up and stuff. that's a horrible way to put it, right?
Shot up.
But I mean here and there, but anyway, no, seriously though, I not just thinking about myself a lot, even though I was one thing. I'm not a selfish person, but I will say I had selfish traits to come out through this because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going through so much, like never experienced this in my life. But definitely just thinking about the other person involved. So when Tuesday was stating like, hey, she would pause for a moment, that was me saying to myself like, okay, Lisa, you're going through this, but look out for your partner too. So that's something that I would definitely, as far as like advice to someone else, be patient and know that if you're in it with someone else as a partner, just know that y'all are both in it together and that you're not alone.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely. I think there's nothing I would change. I do appreciate everything we went through just because I think it made us stronger as a couple. And it taught us to be relentless in the things that we want. But I will say this, and hopefully this podcast and this episode reaches a lot of people because I think just having an insight window into somebody else's would have probably helped. I mean, there were videos on YouTube, but they were like short and like kind of like dicey. Because one thing about it is once you start taking the injections, you start taking the injections and you start getting in the routine, you forget to record. Because we actually thought we were going to record the process. It did not work. It is emotionally draining, physically draining on the both of them. More so on her. But
recording just by itself is draining.
I'm going to say hello.
Right. So
Like,
I can imagine.
we tried, y'all.
It's a struggle to get together.
Yeah. So it was very draining. So I really encourage more people to at least just have a conversation on platforms like this.
Yes.
I really do appreciate Brad and BB Judy for actually bringing it to the forefront as far as sperm donor shortages as well as just the process of IVF. Because nobody really has talked about it on the level that they have. And I wish their episodes would have came out before we started.
Right, I was going.
We was going kind of simultaneous.
The crazy thing about it is, like I told you, Latusa and I are nerds at heart. So of course we did like a lot of legwork, a lot of research, and not having someone to not necessarily someone we knew, but something to look into besides just YouTube videos or snippets. It was challenging for sure. So yeah, so now I have a friend of mine. I'm not gonna call her name, but a friend of mine who's now going through it, and I'm glad that I'm here for her, and she goes through this process because she doesn't have anyone that she knows besides myself, and so she was just very appreciative of me to share my story with her. And so if our story can touch somebody else, or even for allies, of this process, want to know like what it's like, just get a snippet into what we're going through. I mean, I think that's a win-win in our book too.
Yeah. I have it's like a wrapping up question. Outside of well, obviously your lives are changing in a miraculous, beautiful, magical way. And outside of delivering a healthy and happy and hopeful baby, like what are you most looking forward to on your next journey? Because you're starting a new journey, or you've already started a new journey. Like what are you looking forward to the most?
Yeah, I think most importantly, I'm just looking forward to creating a bond with this human being that we actually manifested and helped to create. So yeah, I'm looking. That's what I'm looking forward to. Like I'm ready. I'm ready for spend time, mommy and me time. I'm ready for it all. Energetic. We've been getting a lot of practice with our godson, who's been giving us a run for our money at times. But we're super excited to welcome her to the world. She has
Hold her,
yeah.
Teach her things, give her life lessons, things that we learned, mistakes that we made, to try to teach her, like, hey, you're gonna bump your head, but it's okay, it's not the end of the world. Like, just like she said, mommy and me moments, I'm definitely looking forward to that. But yeah, just knowing that this little human being that's growing inside of me, to know that we did this together, and that this is the fruit of our labor. This is our what's the word I'm looking for? This is our lineage ish.
This is our heirs.
Heirs, yes. All of this stuff. So just knowing that, we can mold. It's time for us to do the molding, and we can, bring her up. I'm ready for family trips and pictures and photos and all of the good stuff that comes with it, and even I would even say even the bad too, like those teaching moments, the opportunities that life is gonna bring, and growing pains, and like I'm ready for it.
I'm also ready to grow to Lisa as a partner. I think we'll change as parents.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see how we'll adapt to parenthood while trying to keep the flame still burning. I think the most interesting thing most people don't know is me and Jaleesa are like so goofy in private, like super goofy. Like we laugh and make the silliest jokes and the most corny things. We laugh at them, and I really believe that'll be the thing that'll keep us going throughout us developing as parents. So I'm just looking forward for those weird things where like she like, let me tell you what your child did, and us making a whole joke out of it or doing something extreme.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to that.
I feel like Parker will come out with at least 2 degrees. She's gonna come out a college graduate already.
Let's hope so.
Yes. It's a scholarship, man. We can't forget.
Right.
Okay, wait,
Free
inflation
wine.
Right. Coordinating everything.
Yeah.
I got questions for you. How? Because Percy is an uncle already. We have a nephew. He just told you he's over there. I'm wondering, how do you feel about this? Is going to be your first time having a niece?
Yes, I'm honestly, I don't know what to expect. So it's gonna be a new journey for me. I know, of course, being a part of my nephew's life, like that was amazing and still is amazing to watch him grow and to be there and to try to kind of guide him. And it's gonna have to be a different. I'm gonna have to come from a different aspect for a girl. Like I almost feel like I'm gonna be a girl dad. Like in my head, like this
really
how
are.
like I'm gonna be a girl dad
So
for real.
so let's actually get into that conversation because I mean I'm pretty sure people wonder that who are not familiar with know, how same-sex couples work, especially, two females like that. I was like, okay, like, what about a dad? Like, but I think I think in our mind we've always seen that, as far as father figures, even though they may not carry the title fathers, I think we've always seen you is going to be her father figure, as well as, even LD, as well as her brothers. Shout out to her brothers, and even my father, our father. I don't want to get confused. We got the same dad and mom. But even our father being a father figure, so I mean, she'll have plenty of, male figures in her life to, take on that role and be what you said, like kind of like the girl dad.
Right.
Maybe teach her things that we can't really teach her from a female sister.
Yeah, pull up on the boyfriends, when she get up age. Me and Breland, we gonna be right there like, hold up now, wait a minute.
I already know Daddy not gonna be playing about the boyfriends.
I'm excited. I'm nervous too. I'm like, you don't want to mess up. You don't want to teach them the right thing and things like that. But
See,
I think
you already scared like a parent.
Yeah. I feel the same way with Breland too, though. So but it's more excitement than anything, and then you just learn as you go.
Exactly.
And each child is different, so I'm ready to see her personality and everything like this. So it's gonna be a fun journey.
I agree with that. Each child is different. And I think a big part of parenthood is adapting to who your child is naturally. Because sometimes
it's important.
Yeah. Sometimes we try to mold our kid into who we imagine them as, or who we want them to be.
Right.
Or who we want it to be.
Now you're getting on something now. It's a whole nother topic for a whole nother episode, though.
Yeah. Be you. I'm gonna look up Parker right now. Why you got this on your head? You want to be a unicorn today? Okay.
Let her be a unicorn.
Go ahead, sweetheart. Exactly. But be you. Be you. No matter what.
So, is there any last words you want to leave the viewers with? Any advice, or you guys already left a lot of advice out there, but just any last words that you want to leave them with?
I think I think I said it earlier throughout the interview, but just consistency and resilience, like in anything you do in life, it always bears fruit. But it always bears fruit, and it's super important to to dream big. And as long as you keep going, then it will come to. Just like this podcast is going to be big one day.
That's right. That's right.
For sure.
And to even add to that as well, I echo everything she just stated, but times are going to get hard. Going through this process, going through life, sometimes it's going to get hard, but don't give up. Sometimes don't let it always what some people do. Be resilient, push through. It's I promise you'll get through it. There's a rainbow at the end of the tunnel.
Sometimes literally.
But yeah, just keep going no matter what. Don't let the world tell you that you can't fall down, get back up again. Just keep going, keep pushing through. It's not as bad as it seems. You get a fresh 24 hours every single day.
Yes.
Utilize it to your advantage. So yeah, that's what I got.
Nice. I love it. Ending on a good word. Good word.
Exactly.
Yes.
But again, we thank you for coming on, sharing your journey. Do you feel comfortable with people like asking follow-up questions?
So absolutely.
If you have any questions or comments, feel free to slide into the Two Go Mics DM, leave a comment on YouTube or Instagram. We'll make sure that we get it to them.
Right. And feel free to reach out to them because we done added their names on here as well. So follow them on their social media platforms. Follow us on our social media platforms. Share, like, comment, subscribe.
And we're back on our regular schedule. So
Are we?
1, 2. Let me tell you something.
Are we?
I be tired, but it's not me. It's not me.
Yeah, one week it'll be him, one week it'll be me. It's just, but we getting y'all good content, and we're gonna get this thing together.
We're gonna get it together.
Yeah, we're gonna get together. We're gonna be able to pick one of these days and just sit here and give y'all all this knowledge about all the people that we connected with. You know, we got some friends with some information, so just want to share.
Yeah. You gonna listen, but this is Jaleesa.
This is a Tuesday. I am Percy,
I'm LD.
and you guys have been watching and listening to
To Go Mics.
Peace.
Peace.